All right, good morning. Thank you for attending another beautiful December 1 Million Cups. So we're in the big room today. Always a pleasure to see all the folks out there. Who here has not attended 1 Million Cups before? Woo! Look at all those new folks. Well, new folks, we'll let you in on a little secret about how all this works. Every week at 1 Million Cups, we invite 2 local startups, entrepreneurial ventures, to have 6 minutes to present to the group about who they are, what they do, and who they're serving. And then we pepper them with questions for the next 20 minutes. Hopefully really good ones, because I know Eric here is looking forward to tough questions. So that's how the format works. 1 Million Cups is Nate Olson, George Brooks, John McGovern, and Melissa Roberts. 3 of those folks are absent at the moment, but I think we'll be able to handle it. A little bit of housekeeping, since we've got a big room here and a lot of coffee and a lot of coffee cups. The Kaufman folks are kind enough to allow us to use this room. Please do clean up after yourself when you are done. So, with no further ado, let's get started with our first presenter. Who here likes food as much as I do? Yeah, plenty of folks. So, the rest of you, I don't even know, how do you exist? Of course you like food. Our first presenters are at the heart of something that's been going on in the food scene for a few years now, and that's local. And not just local, but hyper-local. You see that in restaurants, you see that in retail, fresh-made vegetables, herbs, all these things. And Urban Harvest is producing those herbs and various vegetables for local restaurants like Farmhouse, Affair, and I'm sure very many more very soon. So please welcome Eric Person from Urban Harvest.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Person. This is my business partner, Jason Irish. I'm really excited that we were able to come and talk to you today. I'm just going to get started. I've been growing tomatoes and peppers for about 15 or 20 years. I'm not new to farming at all. I am new to the business of farming. However, I've been growing tomatoes and peppers for about 15 years. I've made salsa for my friends. I used to make salsa for my friends and families for the past 10 years, and for the last 2 years I haven't been able to do that because the nitrogen in my soil has just been depleted. So I started doing research on how I could keep water on my property. This is what my backyard looks like. It's about a little less than an acre. And so this is after I pulled up all the tomatoes last year. As you can see, it's pretty small, but it's enough to garden fairly well. You've probably seen my face on billboards or in your bills. I worked for the Metropolitan Energy Center, so as an energy efficiency advocate, it was really silly for me to go around the city and talk to people about conserving energy and saving energy because Kansas City uses a third of our electricity to pump and clean water, and then I would come home and water my tomatoes for about 2 hours. So that, it was defeating the purpose. So I started doing research on how to keep water on my property and came across some wicking beds, came across some raised beds, and started doing research on what was the best material to use for that because I didn't want, obviously, plastic leaking any of that into my system and into my garden PCBs and all of the petroleum-based products, what have you. And came across some aquaponic tables, which were designed for growing plants inside of plastic barrels or plastic tables without, worrying about the excess things being added to my system because what you put into your system is in your system. And came across aquaponics on a YouTube video. Aquaponics is the raising of the mix of aquaculture and hydroponics. Aquaculture obviously is the raising of fish for producing fish for consumption, whether it be tilapia or catfish or crawfish, lobster, mixed with hydroponics, which is the raising of plants in water. When I first seen the videos, I got kind of frustrated, I got kind of mad, thought that this is something that should be taught in schools all around, and then I just kind of took it in my hands and said, what can I do to change how aquaponics is being taught. Aquaponics is basically using fish, the ammonia and the fish waste, poop from the fish, to fertilize my plants. The water that the fish is in is pumped to our raised beds. We use expanded shell and what's called hydrogen, which is their clay pellets. And the water sits in those tables, and then they drain out. When the water drains out, what's left in the pebbles are nitrates. The nitrates turn into the nitrates turn into nitrogen through a process, through a nitrosinoma process, which is tiny, tiny bacteria. And it cleans out some of the ammonia from the water and also some of the other bacteria that's left in behind, or the bad bacteria for the fish. What that does is returns the water to the fish and makes it safe and palatable for the fish, and basically it's a process of reverse osmosis. We use a closed loop system, so all of the water is recycled, and we keep all the water on property, and we use about 10 to 30 gallons a week. This is my first system in a house. This was in my living room that my cat really loved, so we had to move that to our second-story bedroom. I started with a small tank that I bought from Strasser Hardware. This is a drain pan for a water tank. I bought some clay pellets, and then in a couple of months, I was able to produce some lettuce, some pea shoots, and I just basically turned my 8x8 guest room into a greenhouse. In a couple of months, I was able to grow some cucumbers, and that's when I kind of started to realize that I could do this year-round, and I asked my friend Jason if he wanted to start on a business adventure for me. I learned how to hand-pollinate my cucumbers, and I got about 3 cucumbers this size. So we took hold of this building downtown West Side, which used to be a bakery about 2 years ago, and then about 40 years ago, it was a grocery store. So we were able to reclaim some property that was zoned weird. So is zoned kind of weird, and the laws that were grandfathered in allowed us to do what we wanted to do. However, the city made us promise that we wouldn't have any goats, cows, or chickens on the property. This is the inside of the building. When we first took hold of it, this is a cold storage that the landlords had moved from the back of the unit to the front, so we're going to use that to try to cultivate mushrooms. And we've built some tables in the front of the store, and this is mosh lettuce that we grow for a fair. They import that from California via Europe, and if we can stop them from doing that, obviously we can make a huge imprint on the carbon imprint. We started selling microgreens to the farmhouse to kind of boost our business, and so ideally we want to build another table like that to custom grow lettuces, gourmet lettuces and vegetables for restaurants that are local. This is our system. We use a trickle filter, and we use red wiggler worms in our system. We use a swirl filter that helps us capture the bacteria and speed up the nitrification process. Which helps us produce plants like this. This is a plant that I took out of my garden in November, and this is what that plant looked like last week. Because I was able, and this was a plant that I started last May. This is why we're doing this, because of so many food deserts in Kansas City. There's so many buildings in Kansas City that can be converted to do this. We all know where these buildings are. Of course, the Linwood building, the old Whole Foods building, the Kmart, Sears, / whatever you want to call it on Shawnee Mission Parkway. There's so many buildings in Kansas City that can be changed to this. We drive our business on maintaining systems for people. We have a farmer in Kansas who's been growing vegetables for about 30 years. His name is Pav Hun. He is also, we are part of, and he is part of the KC Food Grow Circle. So we've teamed up with him to provide a CSA membership to our members, and that helps us drive our business. We also sell microgreens to, like he said, restaurants like a fair and farmhouse, and that helps us stay sustainable. And the reason we're coming to you today is because we want to expand, and we want to let you know that we're here, and we want to just provide local grown vegetables to everyone in Kansas City. Does anyone have any questions?
All right, it's time for questions. Hey, Eric, before we were chatting beforehand, you had mentioned that you guys kind of jumped into this. You know, that's kind of unusual for a lot of startup businesses who spend a lot of time planning and thinking about things. You didn't do that. So tell us a little bit about how that kind of came about.
Well, like I said, just being an energy efficiency advocate was, like I said, I really just spent a lot of time watering my tomatoes, and for the last 2 years, I mean, just this summer, it was just, we had went out of town for a while, so when it came back, it was just an over, like, the weeds had taken over, and morning glories had taken over my garden. And so it's just watering, just standing there one day, and I was just watering. I was just like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not saving any water. And working with Bridging the Gap and their whole water conservation program this summer and over the past year is just helping people do downspout disconnect and install rain barrels. It's just not. It was not. I'm kind of one of those persons like either it's working or it's not. And so it wasn't working, and I had to find out a way to do something different. And so when I came across the aquaponics, it was really just kind of a eureka moment. I was just like, wow. And I think for the first, when I first watched the videos, it was in August, and I've probably watched every aquaponic video on YouTube probably at least 10 times. So it was a study. I want to learn this, and I'm very persistent. Maurice is my middle name, so that means persistent, and I'm I'm really quick to pick up stuff. I'm just a fast learner. I'm kinesthetic, which, is to learn by doing things. And so I just picked it up fast, and I just went with it and kind of kept going. And excuse me, my cat was the driving factor because I couldn't get anything to grow without him just wanting to destroy it. So once I moved it and talked to some people about my lighting situation and what I needed to make my plants grow successfully, that's when it kind of took off. And I literally went on Facebook and said, I can do this. I think we can make this a business. And I said, does anybody want to go into business with me? And Jason was like, sure. So that's literally how it happened.
I had two questions. One, there's an initiative going on as part of the Big Five with the Chamber, which is the Urban Neighborhood Initiative, and part of what they're looking at is addressing the food desert with so forth and whether or not you've connected with them or whether that would be useful. The second question is, you appear to be distributing directly to restaurants, but I'm always amazed, particularly mathematically, when we go into Brookside Market and we buy one of those little bags of herbs. For whatever it is, $3.84, that seems to translate to about $114 a pound. Is that a market for you for locally grown herbs through that type of distribution channel?
That's a good question. We haven't looked at herbs. However, I do know that we have a community supported agriculture, which people know as CSA, and I've designed it to fit what I liked and what I didn't like about a CSA membership. We allow since we've teamed up with the grower, Pav Hun, who's been growing for about 30 years, these are his high tunnels. He also grows tulips for us, but he has high tunnels, so he grows year round. So he always provides us with beets, carrots, baby spinach, red onions, yellow onions, sweet potatoes, and red potatoes. And he said that he can do up to 800 pounds year-round. And we let our CSA members come in and pick whatever they like. The biggest complaint that we've had is that people choose a program, a CSA package that will give them 8 pounds, but they'll get 3 pounds of kale and 3 pounds of spinach and 2 carrots and a beet. And so that's not really what is helping them feed their family. And ideally, we want people to not only take food that's going to help them feed their family, but use what they take. But as far as the herbs, I'm trying to create the model to be sustainable so that you can afford to buy organic vegetables and feed your family or yourself. Yeah.
What do you need for your next step? Or what's your next step?
What is our next step? I don't know. When we first started, that's a great question. When we first started, we kind of just went into it. I know a lot of people told us, we don't have a plan, or we should develop a business plan, or get a loan so that we can, do certain things that we want to do. But when we first started, we were selling microgreens, and then we realized that we could hook up with a farmer again, and that kind of changed our direction from trying to sell microgreens specifically to drive our business to creating a CSA package that people would like. So we're also trying to hook up with a couple of farms to provide free-range chicken. And they also provide lamb. Of course, there's just getting not only organic certified, but getting the inspection is costly. We need deep freezers, and refrigeration space is a big thing. when we first got our funding, or some of the funding that we got to start our business, we just kind of went, we built tables because we have kind of two separate rooms. And so we built tables in the front, but we moved those to the back. And then we were just kind of trying to establish where we wanted to move our system because we still haven't established the lighting in our system. We want to move there's two kind of lighting spectrums, if you will, when you're growing. One is a flowering stage and one is a vegetative stage. So ideally, we would like to have the vegetative stage in the front and the flowering stage in the back so that we can kind of have two different lighting in two different seasons, if you will. So our idea right now is just to grow more tables and try to expand our growing capacity. It's just like on a farm. We basically need to till more land, and to do that, we just have to establish more tables. So when we first started, we didn't really have a design, and now we really have a design of how we can maximize our space, and so we're ready to proceed with going forward with that.
So just a quick question. This is really fascinating. You've talked a lot about like the vegetable side of things. What about the fish? Are you planning on, selling fish and stuff?
Yes, and that's another thing that our neighbors, a lot of things our neighbors ask is, are we going to have fresh tilapia for purchase? And yes, tilapia takes about 9 months to raise. You have to keep them at a certain temperature. Right now, they're juveniles. They're about 7 or 8 months old, and about 9 months is when tilapia are old enough to consume. However, right now they're in the stage where they will begin to spawn, so we will have to separate them. The process, you will have to separate the male with two females in a separate tank. You have to keep them at a certain temperature. Ideally, they will start spawning and they will keep reproducing, and then we'll have fish that we'll be able to serve year-round. So yes, that ideally is one of the things we want to do. We also want to do crawfish. We would like to do prawns, which is really hard. Crawfish and aquaponic system. Aquaponic systems are really, really, it's just a really, really nice relationship because the crawfish secrete ammonia more than the goldfish that we're using. And obviously some of them are edible, and they just produce the waste that we want. Obviously the waste that is the fish produce is what you're using to grow your food. So I'm going on and on.
Hey, Eric, I think this is amazing. And I liked what you said in your talk about how these concepts should be taught in schools.
Yes.
Like nobody that I know, like in the city, really knows how to grow their own food. I mean,
Right.
You can plant a garden, you can do some of those things, but really, I mean, you could set up a home system like the one behind you and produce, your own food. So could you talk about, the potential to educate students about this?
Oh yeah, by all means. I mean, that's the biggest thing that, another thing that we do. We give tours. We've talked to schools. A lot of schools right now have told us that their curriculum is full for the year, but we give tours to families. We give tours to single people that come down. But educating the community, we've tried to hook up with Bistro Kids. I almost drove to St. Louis last week to give a presentation. They couldn't provide a stipend for my gas, and that was the only thing that stopped me. This, like I said, this was a system that I put together for less than $100. And I was able to grow enough lettuce and spinach that we didn't have to buy anymore. Which is, spinach and lettuce is not a lot of money, but if, like I said, the cucumber, if you can teach a family to grow that, I mean, imagine if one neighbor was growing just lettuce, and then the next neighbor was growing just spinach, and then another neighbor was just growing tomatoes, and then on Saturday they all came together and they had a market and they split the money. I mean, that's my ideal. Teaching kids, I mean, obviously kids can take a fish tank and they're going to say, can I have a pet? And the mom's or dad's going to say no. You're like, can I have a fish? Sure. So if you can raise goldfish, you can do this. Goldfish are 13 cents a dozen. There's so many reasons that, my son loves Xbox. He's always on Call of Duty, but he will help me. He would be more than happy to help me put one of these systems together. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and whenever I cut pea shoots, she's cried because I won't give her the vegetables. I say these are for a restaurant, sweetie. You can't have these. And so she, just the involvement that kids just that they see when they see something like this and they realize that they're involved in doing something. Our idea is to have a pea shoot so that when they come, we grow in what's called rock wool. It's a basalt substrate that they kind of they refine and make it like fiberglass, and that's what we grow in. It has a negative pH, and we have to raise the pH. There's a lot of stuff we have to do to it to make it so that it can grow stuff. But what it does is we can take a pea and we can give that to the child with the rock wool and tell them to plant it in a bag or something and put it in a dark space, and that's going to sprout. And that's going to, then they can take that and put that in their system, or they can put it in a pot, but that's going to encourage them to want to grow stuff. And we want to be able to give kids, just a pea seed when they come to visit our system, so that they can see that they can grow something without dirt or without, necessarily, having a big system or a big garden. Education is one of the biggest things that we would love to get out there.
Could you talk about the required energy input?
Oh, well, it depends on what you're growing. For this, I bought a 400-watt metal halide, but before that, I was just using 5 CFL light bulbs over the system. It really depends on what you're trying to grow. Lettuce, things like lettuce and basil don't require a lot of heat, but they like a lot of light. Things like tomatoes and cucumbers, they require a lot of humidity and a lot of heat, so they like that room being 80 degrees is what it was, and the humidity was about 75. So that was another concern of when doing this in my house, but it didn't get too bad. So it really just depends on what you're trying to grow. Yes, sir.
Great presentation. Have you contacted the World Health Organization? One of the things that organization looks at globally is how to deliver a food product that is sustainable in areas that have drought and also have other challenges with the nutrients in the dirt. Mm-hmm. That's my first question. If you have not contacted them, I would highly suggest that you do that.
Okay.
My second question for you is, I can only answer this in Ohio because I'm from Ohio. I'm a farmer in Ohio, and I work extensively with Ohio State's Extension Service. Mm-hmm. What they do is take farmers and show us how to get the most out of our crops, how to turn them, how to deal with our yearlings, so that we can produce a productive crop year after year after year after year after year. I'm not sure what they have here in Missouri. This is the first time I've been in your state. But an extension service that has a research laboratory with it can show you some very good ideas of how to create even some hybrids to get rapid growth. Okay. So as you package this in a box for the World Health Organization, this may be something that can even assist global hunger. By the way, stay in contact with me. Okay. I'm Dr. Gregory. I teach at a university. I'm from Ohio. I'm with the Ohio Small Business Development Center, and I really do like what I see.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rohit. I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
What is the minimum scale required to make this economically viable?
Ooh, economic. That's a good question. That's what I'm trying to figure out. You tell me. I don't know. When I first found out about this, I was in contact. I called some people in Australia. I called some people in Vancouver. There's actually a company in Vancouver that, which was very encouraging, who writes business loans or business plans for people. This gentleman, when I talked to him, he said he has people from Somalia, from Asia, and from South America who will pay him about anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 to write him a business plan that's guaranteed to get them about $20,000 to $50,000 to start up the business. That's what he does, and he's been doing that for 15 years. So I know that there's a way, for me, as someone that campaigned for Obama, and then I hear all the talk about not only food deserts and I hear about loss of jobs. I mean, my job was a result of the stimulus package, so and it ended, and I no longer have a job now. So I knew that there has to be a way to create I wanted to create a way that I thought there would be some sort of sustainable model, but then driving around Kansas City and you drive up and down Troost and you see all these close buildings and then you see all of the McDonald's and you see all the Burger Kings and you see all the people in the street not working, it's really hard for me to believe that those people don't want to work and that people in Kansas City don't want to eat and they don't want to feed their children and they don't want to have healthy food for their community. That I don't believe that. Kansas City's better than that. So I want to do what I can to help, make it so that people can take care of themselves.
All right, that's about all the time we have. Eric, I'm just going to throw one last question at you. We've got 230 people here. A lot of connections can be made. Anywhere in Kansas City, what would be the one place you'd like to have your produce located next? Restaurant, retail?
Your kitchen, your house, your table.
All right, there's 230 people who'll be putting that there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric.
That awesome? That was so cool. I'm going to do announcements real quick. Let's see. This week, this Friday and Saturday, we have Hack of the Sexes. How many of you are planning on attending Hack of the Sexes? There we go. Okay, well, we need more of you. Essentially, it's going to be here, Kauffman Foundation, and we're going to be boys and girls working together to solve civic problems. And I'm really excited about this, and I'm really excited that the communities come together because, when you have a startup weekend or a regular hackathon, if you look around, there's really a very small handful of women involved. And last time I checked, there was more than 40 women involved. In fact, the women may outnumber the men. So I'm really excited to see what we can come up with this weekend. And if you have any questions, talk to Jason Kerrigan and Erica Berkman. And let's see, are they here? Can you raise your hands? No? Okay. Second presentation, Beers and Suits, or the Innovative Professionals for Entrepreneurs group, is going to be meeting at the Google Fiberspace this Thursday evening. So if you consider yourself an innovative professional that likes entrepreneurs, or if you like beer and you're wearing a suit out there, then you should go check it out. Let's see. Betty Ann, are you here? Come on up. Betty Ann's going to give a quick shout out for Tech Cocktail.
Good morning. I'm Betty Ann Santa Maria. I'm a technical recruiter at DST Systems. The reason I'm here today, I am announcing another tech cocktail in Kansas City. I think there's some familiar faces here that were here in October. We had a very successful event. We had almost 500 people attend, and it was a lot of fun, and some really good connections were made. Tech Cocktail is a national group that goes around the United States, bringing together IT startups, potential investors, and IT enthusiasts. This year, DST has a new product division called Tree Swing, and they're going to sponsor the event. Right now, we only have about 8 or 10 individual companies or startups that have applied to present. We'd like that number to be doubled. So if you are an IT startup, you're looking for funding, you have a product that you can demonstrate or present at the event, you could give me a call, contact me on LinkedIn, or you could go to tech.co and fill out an application to present. And we're also looking just for IT enthusiasts to come to the event, do some networking, have some free beer, and see our new product, Tree Swing. What's the date? The date is May 7th, and it's at Boulevard Brewery. It's from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. And again, you could get your ticket on tech.co on Eventbrite if you search by the date. And that ticket allows you admission into the event and free beer from Boulevard Brewery.
Thanks, Betty Ann. And Adam, do you want to come up here and make an announcement about 1 Week KC?
Hey guys, okay, so last year we did an event called 1 Week KC, and it was really, really awesome. The goal was really just to connect the local community and have things like this happen, so it's amazing to see how great an event like this has become on a week-to-week basis. So we're going to do that again this year. Last year we kind of closed out the event with a big Entrepreneur Day at the K and invited the mayors to come and make a proclamation that it was going to be Entrepreneur Day. So we're going to do that again. We're going to actually kick off the week with that event, and the Royals loved us last year, so they're actually going to let us have the outfield experience. It's going to be really awesome. So we're hoping to really pack the Kauffman Stadium this year. So mark the date on your calendars. June 25th is when we're going to do the event. And then that whole week, the rest of the week, we're going to have all sorts of really cool stuff. So one of the things that we want to do is a talent fair to actually get startups finding co-founders and maybe investors and all sorts of cool stuff. So we're going to work on that. Last year we did a trivia night hosted by Silicon Prairie News, which was just kind of a goofy, fun thing, and everyone had a blast. We're going to do that again this year. And we'll do like a party and another startup crawl. It's going to be a really awesome week. So just try to be open that week. We're going to try to do a whole bunch of stuff in the morning and day and throughout that whole week, just really highlighting the events that are happening here, but also have a really cool number of kind of premier events that week too. So if you can, please just hold that week and try to stay as open as you can, and we'll try to have all sorts of really cool stuff happening. So thanks a lot, guys. June 24th is that Monday. We're probably going to kick it off the 25th and through that whole week. So thanks.
All right, well, it's time for our second presentation. I'm really excited to introduce Blake Isaacs with Genneo. In the early 2000s, I found this story about these nightclubs in Iceland that were completely powered by people dancing on the dance floor. And I thought that was a really brilliant use of, kinetic energy transfer. And, there's, when we were talking about electricity usage here, there's really innovative ways to transfer energy and to use that. And so Genneo's created a device, which I think we'll get to take a look at here, that basically you put in your bag, and when you walk, it collects the kinetic energy that you, maybe I'm giving too much away, but basically collects the energy that you're giving off through walking, and you can charge all your devices with it. So let's give a big warm welcome to Blake Isaacs.
Thanks, guys. It's great to be here. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about energy, and I love coming here. This is my 8th time, and thanks for the opportunity. It's awesome to be standing up here. There seems to be even more energy here today. Let's talk about Genneo. Genneo, we're bouncy at Genneo, so I couldn't resist that. Okay, so the opportunity is out there, and it's growing, and it's already big. Everybody has electronics, and everybody has more and more electronics, right? And the electronics needs power. We all know this, right? Battery technology gets better. Things advance, but it doesn't keep up with all the stuff we do, and more people are spending more and more time out there with more and more electronics, right? So, you also have to worry about it, right? What's your power budget? You have to worry about it. Sometimes it's really hard to get power when you need it, right? Sometimes very hard indeed. So, what market is out there? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. I spent about 15 years in product management for cell phones and other consumer electronics. The market for cellular phone accessories is huge and growing. The market for outdoor recreation equipment is very, very big. There's a lot of buzz out there about energy harvesting solutions, about off-grid charging for cell phones, and this touches on kind of serving parts of the world where they don't have the grid, or the grid is unreliable or only occasionally available as well. Renewable charging, green energy, a lot of buzz about that. So there's a lot of energy pushing the concept. Our concept is this, as was mentioned, turns out people walk, right? Most people walk. Most people who don't should more. And people who walk the most have the most stuff. They have the most electronics, and they spend more time away from places where they can charge that stuff. Sometimes way out there, right? There's a lot of energy in your walking. Standing here talking to you, I'm burning over 300 watts. That's a lot, right? How much energy does it take to charge my phone or my stuff? Well, it's a small fraction of that. So why can't you grab some of that, right? Why can't you just grab some of that and use it? A little bit of incremental effort. Would I be willing to put a little more incremental effort? Well, yeah, I would. And I think a lot of people would. I think that a lot of people would. So our mission is very focused. We want to make the best stuff for grabbing your energy, your natural walking energy, both incidental and your intentional energy. If you want to shake this thing, multiply it by 20 or 30, depending on how hard you shake it in terms of how fast you capture energy. If we can do that, and I think we've proven that we can, this is not a gimmicky thing. This is a useful amount of energy that you can put into your stuff, right? And it works without you having to think about it. It's easy to use. It's convenient. You already know how to use it. You already have the cables you need. The reason we do a linear generator is because it moves like you move. We don't have wheels, right? We have arms and legs. We go back and forth and up and down. We don't spin. So you got to do that. Well, everybody's seen shaker flashlights. Well, if it was 10 times that, it would be a useful amount of energy. And we think we can do that because of our technology. So we've been working on this for, I don't know how long, about 3 years, I guess, I first started working on it. We're patent pending. Thank you to the folks at Stinson Morrison Hecker, a great IP practice, and they've been awesome. I think James Cronin, who's our patent attorney, is here, and he's awesome. He finished a filing yesterday so that we could actually do this talk, which is our second filing. So we've been patent pending for some time. We've got some new stuff, and he gave me some news. He said that this batch of stuff is really not just one patent. I'm sorry to have to tell you that. I said, James, that's not bad news. That's good news. So we've got some more we're going to do very quickly. And we've got some prototypes, and I've got one here, and I don't have, you can kind of hear that, right? But as I carry it around, it's giving me energy. If you want to take a closer look, feel free to come say hi, shake my hand, and shake our product. So, accessories, industrial design. My designer, he's awesome. He worked for Pininfarina and IDEO and stuff, and he couldn't resist. He's got a motorcycle he's attached it to, so he did that. So how much is enough power? We'll be quick on this. Look at the yellow numbers. You carry it, and you can get as good as 5 minutes or even better of walk time to talk time, if that makes sense, okay? And so we're thinking about this product range. We understand our costs well enough to know that we can hit those numbers through retail channels. We're in kind of late conversation with a big brand in the outdoor recreation equipment space, and we're trying to get 3 levels of prototypes in their hands over the summer so they can do their trade show season and get this thing on the shelf for early next year. So we're very excited about that. We're pre-revenue, but we're getting there. So why we're here today? We get to know some more people. We're expert in a lot of things, but we're not at all in some of the things that we need to start doing well. So we did just turn on our website just yesterday also, and it's a good start, and it'll grow with us as well. But we're not experts in PR. We're not experts in some of these things. So there's a lot of people in Kansas City who are, and there's a lot of companies in Kansas City that have already helped us out a lot. I've made some tremendous contacts here, and so I just want to benefit from your expertise and your relationships and your know-how as well. So let's do questions.
I'll start it off real quick. Can you walk us through just, little bit of like how you capture the energy inside the device? I know, like, without giving too much away or something.
Well, that's okay, because we filed that.
Okay, cool.
So we can.
So how does it work then? Just walk me through it. How does it work?
We can talk about it a little bit. Okay, so kinetic energy. Yeah, I have to. There's a lot of it, right? But it's mass. The amount of energy in movement is proportional to the mass. So you have to have a little bit of mass to have kinetic energy. And then to convert that, we just use Faraday's law of induction in a way that we've got moving high-powered magnets, and they move through a precisely arranged array of coils with a, so we've got some of our intellectual property is around how you do those coils, how you arrange them, how many of them there are, how you do masses. We've got multiple magnets in there, multiple moving masses. We've got mass ratios that are important. And so as you move, you create oscillations in this system, and we multiply the frequency of your walking to higher frequencies inside there. And we have some of our IP is around having more efficient rectifiers than traditional stuff that's tuned for this application. And so that's how it works. I mean, it's just physics, right? You can convert energy from one form to another. And typically a linear generator is only 15% or 20% efficient at the most. We're consistently getting better than 25. We also know that typically as you move faster, the efficiency goes down, and with our technology, that really doesn't happen. So it's more, it happens less, I should say. And so it's better in that way too. Does that answer the question? Next.
I guess I'll go.
Please do.
Since you mentioned the magnetics, that just brought up a question in my mind, which I originally was going to ask, but did you look at the magnetism exposure in relationship to the human body as far as safety issues are concerned?
Yeah, that's a good question, and we have looked at that, and it is an important thing, and it's not just human body stuff, right? Because sometimes people have a pacemaker or whatever they have, but it's also some of the stuff that you carry around. You've got some high-powered magnetic field here, so we can shield in there and attenuate it enough. We can also place things so that inside our housings, you're always at least so far away from the high-powered magnet. And that's a great thing because the magnetic field falls off exponentially with distance, right? So it's like a weak magnet once you get half an inch away, and so we can do that. But it's an important concern.
Okay. The other thing is battery technologies changing, as you mentioned.
Yeah, they do.
And I work somewhat in the cell phone industry, and one of the things that is constantly being told to us is do not charge your cell phone when you're using it.
Yeah.
So how do you get around that with voltage regulation issues? And
well, not charging your cell phone when you're using it with it. I've been product manager for cell phones mostly for the last since '96. Okay. I mean, I've been doing this full time for about 6 months now, but before that, and with the lithium-ion batteries that we have now and the charging circuitry that we have now, any phone that's well designed that's not a problem anymore. You can use it and charge it at the same time because it's going to distribute its power and it's going to have a charging circuit. And that's why it's possible for us to do this right now. We do have to have our own secret sauce, and that's the intellectual property that we talked about. But there's a lot of things that have happened. Magnets have gotten powerful. We've got all these wonderful small package, reasonable cost power supplies and battery charging circuits and all of this, micro power stuff that we can leverage to create this.
okay. And how many voltage ranges and amperage ranges does your equipment currently handle, and what do you anticipate to do in the future? Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think the answer is kind of in here. I didn't take the time to walk through it in detail, but what we'll do is we'll put, this is the storage. So these have an onboard battery. So the one I have here is a 3,000 milliamp hour battery. It's like this G3000 line, okay? and it's got a 1 amp output at 5 volts, which is USB compliant, right? And everything's going to be USB compliant. Because we don't want to sell you cable. We want you to be able to use the cable you already have. And you can probably use the cable you already have to pre-charge the thing. It's capable of being pre-charged and used like an auxiliary battery, which is a product that's available and increasing in popularity right now, too, for the same reasons that we think there's opportunity here for us. Others?
Blake, you had mentioned over here to your left.
Oh.
You'd mentioned now that you've got the product, you've got patents, and starting to go to market, looking for marketing assistance, PR assistance. What do you kind of envision as your go-to-market, your marketing package on this? What sort of assistance are you looking for?
Well, yeah, a lot of stuff. Our strategy right now, and we want to be flexible about this. It depends on the quality of the partnerships we develop. But our strategy right now in terms of go-to-market is kind of 3 stages. The first is outdoor recreation equipment, known brand, high-integrity brands, and we'll white label the product and it'll ship with their brand on it. And we'll make it right here in Kansas City with the help of some of the good people of Kansas City who have that expertise, right? And we already know a lot of those people. But what we don't know is, what we need is help with, okay, there's a good chance we're going to have people in trade show booths over the summer, people we don't have yet, right? In association with those partners. So that's one thing. We also need, we turned on our website yesterday, Genneo.com, and I think it's awesome. It needs to grow, right? And we need a social networking presence. Well, we wanted to put the clicks on there, the Facebook and Twitter and all the rest, but we can't. To do that right, you got to have somebody who knows how to do it and has the time to maintain it. We don't have that yet. So we'll get it on there when we can, but we need people who can help us do that. Public relations, I'm not the best at. We're going to have Team Genneo in the Kansas City Marathon this coming fall, and we're going to have at least 5 people carrying one of these things in their hydration pack and running along and maybe playing music that we can only play because we're generating the energy to play it as we go, kind of thing. So we've got some fun ideas about kind of PR stuff, but we're not those people. So we need that. Operations. I'm not an expert in operations. I'm more of a product development and engineering type. So we need some people there. There's at least 3 different local companies that we've talked to who can scale with us up to a certain point. We're not inclined to go overseas for manufacture until and unless we just have to for competitive reasons. But we like it local, with a close feedback loop and all of that. So a lot of stuff there.
Awesome product. Technology is an interesting beast, as I'm sure you're aware of.
Yeah.
It's constantly changing and is changing more and more rapidly, which is good because of the opportunities, but it's also probably a little bit scary. Have you, and I'm sure you have, could you talk to us a little bit about the scalability in change? In 2 years, this could be obsolete. How are you as a company going to grow? How are you going to morph with it? Is there any takeaways that we can take, if you've thought through those things, that we could pick up from as well or help you with?
It's such an important question because there's a certain pace you have to go when you come out with something like this because, here we are making more of the world aware of what we're doing. You grab onto that and you go faster than we can go and then you sort of steal our lunch money, as it were, right? We don't want that to happen. So we need those partnerships. But then the way you sustain success over the long haul is that you have a competitive advantage that's real, that's meaningful, and the foundation for that is the technology. So you're asking a very important question. How do we take our technology advantage now and protect it and extend it and stay ahead of, there's other people working on this problem, right? Because for obvious reasons. So that's really a good one, and that means that we have to make it a priority to do that. We have to bring in the right people to help us do that, and that's some of the relationships we need. I mean, I did my technical education in Utah, not here, you know. I don't have close ties to some of the universities, but I think it's great. We should have some, you know, some physicists and some other academic folks tied better into what we're doing to make sure that we extend that as well. One of the things that we're doing to help fund, and also because there's a lot of synergy there, is we're working with a consultant to do a small business innovation research grant. Those topics come out every few months, and there's there's always topics related to energy harvesting. So we want to leverage that, but that also requires that we have some of those relationships and capabilities within our organization or access to them in partnership form to be able to extend that advantage.
Question. As the efficiency of your technology continues to expand, it seems like the natural progression, the next step is rather than carrying a device, they'll be charged as I'm moving to then charge my phone. Why couldn't this technology, could it be scalable just to be built into the phone or the iPad or device itself, that if it's in motion in my pocket, it's charging continuously?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And in the research that we've done associated with this, and we've read dozens of patents, there have been people who have tried to attack it that way. The problem is, as I mentioned before, you have to have some mass to have some kinetic energy that you can do. You can do it on a small scale, but it's not going to be worth doing because it's not going to make a real dent in the power that you need. I mean, the energy density in these lithium-ion batteries is just absolutely amazing. I mean, if you could release it all at once, it's actually a dangerous thing. So they're very, very careful to put internal protections and then redundant protections in the systems. So can you put it inside a phone or inside an iPad? Well, not really, not in a way that's really going to help you. So it's got to be kind of separate so that you can orient it vertically so that you can, capture, put it where you need to and make it configured so that it can do enough to really contribute to your power budget.
So I think both of our presenters today, I think these ideas have the potential to change the world and the way that we do things. Like how big could this be if everybody stops plugging in to use their cell phone, just uses the energy that they're already, collecting? Like that could, how big of a change could that make? Do you have any sense of that?
Well, I think that's kind of a wait and see thing. I think we have to be careful with expectations about how huge it can be. I think it can be huge, absolutely huge. But power is almost free, right? I mean, we're paying in Kansas City, what are we paying, 12 cents a kilowatt hour or something? And you've got 1,000th of that in a fully charged phone. Or something like that, right? So power is almost free, but it's like water, right? Water is very expensive when you're halfway across the desert. And so our value proposition comes in the convenience and the ability to create your own power when you're out there.
I see.
Or when you can't get it, right? So it's sort of convenience store power, as it were, right? Because there's no grocery store available.
Yeah.
So, but that's getting very big. And I think it will get bigger.
Right, and then I have a second practical thing. Are there any students here looking for an internship? Nobody. Okay, well there's a huge...
Any physics majors?
There's a huge movement right now led by entrepreneurs here and partnered with the Kauffman Foundation to help startups find interns for them. And it sounds like social media, sort of your PR presence, like that could be handled, through an intern. So I'd like to offer up, helping you find some of the cream of the crop students to get you involved with that, So let's talk afterwards on that.
Yeah, so getting people involved, thank you. We're going to be doing some beta testing, and John McGovern's on the short list for beta test because he's going to be doing a lot of adventures out there and stuff. And, if you're interested in learning more about that, follow us. We're planning to do a Kickstarter project. Get on the website. We'll have some links to that. If they're not there right now, they'll show up soon. That sort of stuff if you want to get involved. So you can send us an email there. If you want to come up and talk to me, now or after or whatever and see the product and get my business card and talk about how you can get involved, I'm eager to do that. Anything else? Here we go.
Great idea on your upcoming participation in the marathon and showing off your product there, but it made me think, how durable is it? Let's just cross our fingers it doesn't rain, but if it rains real hard at the marathon, does it damage the product or anything like that, similar to a cell phone or not?
Thank you for asking that question. No, actually a lot more kind of weatherproof than a cell phone. So the way we've designed it is that we've got a sturdy case, we've got seals around that, we've got end caps that clamp on, and then we've got a soft rubber cover over that with a flap. So it's very water resistant. And we'll have versions that are maybe as high as IP67 in terms of like military applications. But we compete and we also complement solar. Mobile solar is really booming right now. There's a lot of companies offering it. But we work when it can't, right? So we complement it. And so it's very important that we work in any conditions. And so that's a priority design objective for us. So if it's raining, I won't hesitate to have it out there and use it. Yeah. I'll see you there, right? Yeah, okay. All right.
Two quick ones. Sorry if you've addressed either one. Is the product available for purchase right now, and when will it be?
Oh boy, that's a good one. No, it's not. We're kind of transitioning into a beta test where we're going to make dozens, maybe a couple hundred of these things over the next probably 6 weeks or so. And we're trying to sort out how to size that beta test. So we'll want people who can really test it to get their hands on it. So we need to figure out how to make those connections. If you want to talk about that, I'm happy to talk about it. It's probably going to be commercially available under a different brand than Genneo, although we're also planning right now to do a Kickstarter project. So that might be the first opportunity for lots of people, thousands maybe, to get their hands on the product. But that, it probably wouldn't ship until very late this year, even in that scenario.
And that kind of answers the second question was, and you kind of touched on this a little bit about like how exactly is it going to be positioned? Because like I don't think there's really that many people in this room, which I don't know how many models you guys are having, and but if it's 7 inches, I can't carry it around in my pocket while I'm walking around working. So if you're gonna like take the route of like I think off the grid, especially like overseas and a lot of the it'd be really valuable. But like for Americans, like how are you positioning the product?
It really goes in a backpack. And a lot of backpacks or messenger bags or those kinds of things have a vertical pocket or multiple vertical pockets in them. It plugs in nicely to some of them. The folks that we're working with for Channel, they've got their own backpack line as well as a lot of solar products, and they're going to make a custom pocket in some of their messenger bags and backpacks. So it really is. If you're carrying 15 or 30 pounds or something in a backpack, these things can weigh something like 2 pounds. That's reasonable. But you're right, usually it's not going to be pocketable, although we think we can make a small one at some point, maybe next year, that could be more pocketable. So good question. Here we go.
Last question.
Okay, I'm going to make it a good one. Since I work in the amateur radio community for disaster recovery and emergency management.
Yes.
What about, since you're going to have an issue of movement with cable and cords, have you figured out a way to make this so it's able to be repaired in the field in the event that there's a failure? Because the worst thing that could happen is having these in a situation where there's only one of and there's no way to fix it and get it back online.
Well, I'm going to be honest and say no, we really haven't figured that out. But it's an important question. The one kind of serviceable wear item that's in there is the battery, right? They do wear out, right? After a few hundred charging cycles, you start to see degradation, and then they do wear out completely. So it's important to be able to replace the battery. For the rest of it, the first thing we want to do is design it so it's just very, very reliable, so you rarely have that problem. But you're gonna have that problem, so that's a problem we have yet to really solve. Good question, though.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. Give him a big round of applause. Before we wrap up, I want to give Erica an opportunity to come back up here. Both of these companies are planning on running Kickstarters, and crowdfunding has become, a really exciting thing to sort of democratize the funding of ideas. It's almost the new renaissance. People support, the ideas that they like, and so Urban Harvest KC is actually currently running a Kickstarter, so I want to give Eric an opportunity to tell you about it, and then Genneo, we'll have Genneo back when their Kickstarter is up and running, so we can get we can help with the crowdfunding. So go ahead, Eric. Wrap us up.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, just like you said, we have a Kickstarter page. It's just Urban Harvest KC. We have Twitter feed. We have Facebook page. Facebook is probably the easiest way to stay up with what we're doing in our updates. And we also have a website called Pick a Pepper. And if you go there, you can actually enter your zip code, and it will tell you the closest farm to your neighborhood. And I think there's only like two Kansas City farms on there, but we're on there, and that's where you can actually order our CSA packages and custom tables and anything else that you'd like to know about us. Thank you.